Hi everybody. As promised, here's your homework for the week 2. I've split this program into steps. So for step 1, I want you to read this input file provided in this link right here. And this input file looks like this. Okay, so the first 5 columns of the input file are numbers. I want you to read that into a variable called code. And then after that, you have the name of the city and comma followed by the 2 digits for the name of the state. I want you to read all of that into a variable called place. Okay. And then I really don't care about POR, whether you read it or not into the input data set. I don't want to see it in the final output that you create from this read. Okay. So it's up to you how you deal with it. And then I want you to read Jan, February, March, April, all the way through December into columns named hi Jan, hi underscore Jan, hi underscore Feb, and so on through hi underscore December. Okay, and I don't really care whether you read an or not, but I don't want to see it in the final data set. Okay, and then I want you to save this in a SAS data set named work.temps underscore high. This is step number 1. Step number 2, there is another link here which provides low temperatures for those places for the various months Jan through December, and it's structured similar to the file for the high temperature that we saw above. So I want you to do the same thing. First 5 columns, read it into a variable called code. The name of the city, comma, state, read it into a variable called place. I don't care whether you read POR or not, but I don't want it in the final data set. Then I want you to read Jan through December into columns named low underscore Jan, low underscore Feb, and so on through low underscore December. I don't care whether you read an or not, but I don't want it in the final data set. Name this dataset as work.temps underscore low. Okay, so that's step number 2. Moving on, for step number 3, we want to combine the data and calculate new columns. So the column that I want you to calculate should contain the range of the temperature difference. It's the temperature difference between the high and the low for every city for every month. So that's what we are calculating, the range of temperature for each month. So for example, if Birmingham, Alabama had a temperature of 81 from the high Jan from the temps high dataset, and -6 for the low Jan from the temps underscore low dataset. I want you to calculate range underscore Jan variable as 81 minus 6, which is 87. So this temperature swing was 87 degrees from the highest high to the lowest low. Okay, that's what we are calculating. I want you to calculate that for every city for all 12 months. Okay, and I want you to call this output data set as temps underscore range. And this data set, I only want the the, the code, the first 5 that we captured from the files, the code, the place, and the 12 range columns for each month, one for each month. Okay, so discard all the high underscore and the low underscore and all that stuff from this data set. And I've given you some hints here that might come in handy. Okay, step 4, I'm calling it as bonus because there's one function here that we have not seen before. So I'm not going to make you do this, but it's not very difficult to do it. So it would be good if you can give it a try. So what we are doing here is we are calculating the average temperature range for across all months Jan to December. What's the average temperature range for each city? Okay, we are calculating that, and for that you will use a function called mean. This is something I've not talked to you about before, so I've given you an example of how to do it. And then I want you to sort the data in ascending order of that variable, the variable that you created, the average range variable that you created from this step. And then I want you to print the top 10 cities with the showing the lowest fluctuation in temperature, meaning ascending order of average range. And I want you to add a title, which is shown here. Okay, so um, that's the entire homework for this week. I hope it's not too difficult, and if you have any questions, do reach out to me, and I will post this in the GitHub link. Okay, thank you.